Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for coming to my monthly seminar here at Willow Tree Grove. So, website design for 2017. It is changing. I'm going to go forward once. This was old website design prior to HTML5. This is what a static website used to look like. This is not what you want your website to look like now. One of the problems is the glaring yellow colors, the 24-hour recovery lines, the links. You have this static image. It's not inviting, and more than likely, if someone is coming to look at your website and they see this, they are leaving.
Can you go back to the slide before?
Yes, I'm coming back. So what you should do for website design in 2017, you should customize images that convey the messages, convey who you are, and tell a story. You want your brand story to be told in images. And we're going to get to, well, I might as well discuss it now. Images are almost passe because we've moved on to video and on animations. But if you cannot have video and animation, rely on your images because people's attention spans are very, very short, and they will look for images, and images will help draw them into the site and help them look for other areas. Parallax scrolling is one of the things that I'm going to show you. It has to be mobile first. Mobile first is the minimum. Just if you don't take anything else away from that, know that mobile first is your minimum. Multi-page websites. They're more important because they allow people to engage with your website. You don't want them to just arrive, get there by a landing page, fill out a subscriber form, and then leave. You want them to come and you want them to engage. You want to be able to offer them all the information they need to make informed decisions, and multiple page websites help you do that. Make sure your website does not look crowded and congested. We are using mobile devices. If it doesn't render well and everything is bunched up, people are not going to take the time to spend more time. You want them to spend time on your website, and to make it engaging, white space helps a lot. Responsive design is actually coincides with mobile first, so I'm going to skip that one. If at all, tell a story. Make sure your website tells a lot about you. I don't know if you've been to my website. My website is really my personality. It's blue, it's yellow, it's green, it's me, and it tells you that I am a creative. If it doesn't tell you anything more than that, it tells you that I'm a creative and I kind of think outside the box. So tell your story. If it's the beginning, how you started, make sure you tell a story, because the more personalized you make your business, the more enticing it is to the people who are buying your goods and services. Some of the don'ts. Eliminate splash pages. Splash pages are dated. You don't even see any more of them anymore. Make sure your call to action, or whatever action you want people to take, is clear and defined and is easily a big button that's a color. They're there, you want them to take an action. Make sure that you tell them what you want to do. You don't want them to decide, what am I supposed to do here, or why am I here? Tell them what you want. That's your job. That's what your website should do. And then we looked at old design, which was the slide after this one. And I'm just going to jump over here because I want to show you parallax scrolling. And we've all seen it, we just didn't know what it's called. Maybe not. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to skip that, and I may come back to it when we have a little bit more time. This is a perfect example of a hidden call to action. We are on long cycles page. What are we supposed to do here? We know they're advertising for Father's Day. They have a blowout deal for $11.99. I don't know what the Lotto Omega Pharma, I don't know why that's there. We have all these listings here, but there is no idea what we're supposed to do here. There should be a reason that you're here, and there should be a call of action. You should be able to subscribe, click on the Father's Day special for something, but it's not clear. And anytime you have a call to action that is not clear, people are leaving. So as I said earlier, you make sure that you refine your calls to action. This also, it applies to the website, but it also applies to email marketing. If people don't know what you're asking them to do, they're not going to do it. So one of the great ways to define calls to action on your website is to make an Act Now button. It tells you exactly what you want to happen. Click here. That's okay, but Act Now is red. It says, hey, this is urgent, I need to act now. Carefully choose what your call to action is, and it should also be defined by your page. So if you are on a page where you want people to subscribe, make sure that the button says subscribe now, or that it's clear and it coincides with the contents of your website page. Make it, and as I just said, make your CTA clear. Create a sense of urgency. You want people to know that they need to act now as opposed to later, because later they may not come back to your website. Our attention spans are very short and we get a lot of information. If they don't act now, the likelihood they're going to come back is very slim. Or for more information. That is an excellent call to action because it encourages people to interact and it encourages them to click to other pages to get more information, and it keeps them on your website and engaged. So now we're going to go to the social media portion of the presentation. I just wanted to make sure that there are no questions for the initial part, which is the website design. Any questions? Examples? No? Okay. So we'll go into social media. So we're going to talk about Facebook, Google, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, and Twitter. And I did include Snapchat, and it's intentional, and I'll explain to you why. Don't go away from Snapchat because it's going to be very helpful to us later on, and a little bit more now. So social media's part in your marketing plan is a method of communication. It allows you to communicate with your potential customers, your existing customers. It helps you provide customer service. It allows you to build awareness, whatever your objective is for your goods and services, because we don't always have them. As a B2B, my purpose is awareness and engagement. I have no goods to sell. So I want you to become aware of my brand, and I also want to engage you to get you to come and get a free code, a free analysis, so I'm engaging. Customer service, social media is a fantastic way to do real-time customer service. Facebook is a good way. Twitter is also an excellent way to do customer service in real time. Your customers want to hear from you. They expect to hear from you, especially women. We are very impatient about the amount of time that we want people to respond, and generally we want you to respond right away. Social media is one of the best ways to get that done. Social media also helps you personalize your brand. It personifies it, it makes it come to life, and it makes it a real item for people. And one of the examples that I use is Procter & Gamble. They have a huge selection of brands, but each of them have their own persona. If you think about Tide, you think about clean, you think about parent, a mother washing clothes. There are certain associations, and those were intentional, and that's a personification of their product. It also helps you to spread the word in a personal and relaxed way. If you think about the communications that you receive on Facebook, even from businesses when they're done well, it makes you feel connected with that person. It's also a great way to create a community, and a community would be all of the individuals that you connect with who are your brand ambassadors. Those are your representatives, and they are the living embodiment of social media. So make sure that it's a way to personally engage with your community. It's also a great way to create relationships with the people who are the buyers and sellers of your goods and services. You want to create relationships. Loyalty amongst certain generations still exists, but when it comes to millennials, they are very difficult, and it's hard to create loyalty. They're very hard to remain loyal to certain brands or to brands, period. So creating relationships is one of the best ways to connect with them and with other age groups. So some of the Facebook statistics. Facebook is, for everyone in this room and everyone outside this room, one of the social media platforms that you must have a page on. There's a benefit in almost every area of Facebook for everyone, even B2C and B2B. Not just a personal Facebook page, but make sure that you have a business page and make sure you spend time developing that page. Facebook does regular updates to their products and the way that they do things, so there is always going to be a new element. Go on Facebook, check your business page, and see what new thing that they've put up. It reaches 1.18 billion people daily, and that is on a global basis. The most popular ages for Facebook group are 25 to 34, which is aging rapidly. Facebook has come into its own. It is the social media platform that is being used, and it is gaining more traction in the 55 to 65 age group. So that 34-year-old statistic is probably a little stale at this point, because I mentor and teach computer skills to seniors, and they use Facebook, and they're in their 80s and 90s. So I know that it's aging. The only problem is when a social media tool is aging and becomes more mainstream, your millennials and younger people leave. So it is not going to be a platform that you'll be able to use to communicate with them because they don't want to be with us. Females dominate as users of almost every tool, and that's important because women are generally the decision makers in households. They are the ones who generally determine what is bought, what is not bought, how the money is spent. We don't realize that we have that much power, but women are more than likely the decision makers of the household or have most input in some of the decisions and on how money is being spent. Users spend 20 minutes of their day, and this may be an old statistic right now too, because I think it may be even higher, but we spend 20 minutes per day on Facebook. 20 minutes, that's a lot of time to spend on a social media tool. So if you want to send a message, Facebook is more than likely the place that you want to use to send that message. So we have an overview. It tells you the most dominant types of posts that are on Facebook, and as you can see, video, this was from November of 2016, video was dominant. 44% is now probably a little bit low. I would say it's a little bit higher, maybe about 48. Then the second is your photo. So you see that images, videos are the way to communicate with your audiences because we don't have time. Links work, statuses, who cares, other who cares. The interaction types. We are going to get likes on most people are going to say, oh, I like this, I love it, mad, angry, sad. They're going to give a reaction, but it's an engagement. What you're more concerned with is the middle portion, which is shares. Even comments, because comments are engaging. I would try to increase my shares and my comments and not really concern myself with reactions. And the reason that I would do that is shares are the method of communicating, others communicating your message with their friends. That's what you want. You want to increase the number of shares. And comments are great because they mean that people are engaging, and it's an opportunity for you to communicate with those individuals and find out information about how they perceive your brand, about a good or service, and for them to become a brand ambassador. So you can target email lists with Facebook ads, and that goes into Facebook's use of demographics. The Facebook pages now give you a lot of demographic information about users, who's there, their age groups. That information used to be a little bit harder to ascertain, but they are very free with that information, especially on business pages. So you can target email lists with the statistical information that you receive. You can also, as I mentioned earlier, use it for customer service. Facebook is a great way to communicate, primarily because people are on there for 20 minutes a day. You can engage. One of the practices that I use is to create a community, and it allows people to engage with me and for me to get feedback for free. You can target people who have similar characteristics to the people who are in your target market and the fans and people who like your page. And I'm going to address something right after this last point. And make sure that you use your audience insights to learn more. You'll learn more about people's interests if you use the demographic information on Facebook. We were talking earlier, and it was about amassing the followers on Facebook. That concept worked really well when it was an organic platform. It is now more of a paid platform. Actually, it is, I won't even say like, it is a monetized platform in which it uses ads to communicate your messages to people. Organically, you can do it, and there's a way that it can be done. You can communicate in groups. I don't know if you've seen that there are certain groups. You can post in groups as long as you've given admission. You've been granted admission, and they're great ways to communicate messages organically. But what I've found when I've tried to do an A/B testing on organic versus paid, organic looks good initially, and the paid takes a while to catch up to my organic, but it always surpasses. And I know that the people that I'm reaching on a paid platform are the people I want to communicate with, because I delineate who I want to talk to. And so I know those people who share the interests that I'm looking for are there, and so I communicate with them on a paid platform. So we have Facebook ads, which are a method of providing awareness, marketing a brand, good, or service. They are relatively inexpensive. You can spend $5 for an entire campaign, or you can spend $5 per day to market to people. $5 over an entire campaign is a great way to create awareness for your brand. It's not going to reach as many people, but if you're doing a local campaign, that's sufficient because you're only trying to reach a small demographic. So it's a great way to create awareness. Live video. A day in the life is a fantastic way to tell people what you do, how you do it. Even if, I'm going to use a chef example, if you can take people into the kitchen and watch the chef prepare a small meal or an appetizer, that's a great way to have a day in the life, and it personifies what you do and who you are. You can create calls to action for your business pages. Snapchat light features. Facebook is now trying to mimic Snapchat, and it's doing an okay job. I still think Snapchat has its great place because its demographic is different. And I find, and some of the reactions that I'm getting from a lot of Facebook users is they don't want these Snapchat features. They don't like them. They feel that it makes the screen crowded and cluttered, and maybe when they change the user interface on Facebook, it'll be a little bit better. But I think it's blurring a little too much with Snapchat, and it's encroaching on its other property, LinkedIn. But we'll see how this is going to shake out. But the Snapchat-like features are there. I just don't find them very useful yet. And then Canvas, and I forgot what Canvas is, and I have no clue, so I'm gonna have to come back to that. I forgot what that is. So the ideal person who uses Instagram. We wanna find out, this snapshot gives you the ideal Instagram user. So we see that women, as I mentioned earlier, are the group who uses Instagram the most. Instagram is great for pictorial representations and day in the life of stories. So your ideal person is a woman between the ages of 18 and 29, and this was taken from Pew Research, who does a snapshot of social media each year, and this is taken from their 2016 snapshot. So this is the most recent one that you have. She has at least some college, and she earns less than $30,000 a year, and she generally lives in an urban area. So from that snapshot, we know that if we're looking for a woman who is in an urban area who makes less than $30,000 a year and has each of these other characteristics, Instagram is probably the medium that you want to use because that's the average user. But any of these categories will tell you where your user is on the spectrum and how to reach them and how many of them are there and if this is a good forum for you to use. One of the things, the reason that I use these kind of statistics is because not every social media tool is good for you. Just because it's out there doesn't mean it's going to be the platform for you. You have to make sure that you remember who you're talking to, what you want to say to them, and where to find them. So these are some of the best practices for Instagram. These are some of the ways that you can use Instagram to communicate with your audience. So you have contests and promotions, and those are great ways to engage with people and encourage them to interact with you because everyone wants to win something. So contests and promotions are one of the great ways. You can also use it to merge online and offline marketing. So you have a companion campaign running on Instagram that coincides with one of your more traditional. So the traditional will lead them to your Instagram ad and campaign, and so you combine the two forces together and get them to engage with you on social. Definitely, and this is probably one of the only places that you should use hashtags. Hashtags have no real relevance anywhere else. So using them on Instagram is great, and you can use them for brand-specific purposes like Starbucks coffee, or generally if you want to talk about just coffee. So it has multiple uses, and it's a great way to get engagement with your audience. It's also great because it's pictorial and for video, and it's starting to look a little bit more like Facebook, but that's a personal image. And then it's also great to engage with your followers. So to your right, you have an infographic that gives some of the points that I raised, and there are a few. Like making sure that you engage with the people who engage with you on Instagram, share their things, make sure that you mention them. If you refer, make sure that you engage with them because it lets them feel helps make them feel that they're part of your community. Instagram helps with engaging your customers and prospects, and this is going to be a video. And stories is one of the great ways to identify and create brand awareness. This is an Instagram story, and what it helps you do to delineate special offers. Show off your creative process. If you're a baker, if you make, if you make a product, if you embroider, if you do something that has a process to it, Instagram stories are one I was trying to think of an example and I couldn't think of anything. The only thing I could think of was a chef and a baker. But there are other industries where showing off your creative process, Instagram stories is one of the best ways to do that. It is also a fantastic way to do a day in the life. If you visit people, if you have a restaurant, it's great to use because it allows you to bring people into your restaurant without them actually having to physically visit the place. And it also creates an identity. And I keep coming back to the restaurant because that is one of the best uses that I've seen so far, and they've invited people into their kitchen to allow them to see how they prepare a specific meal. And then it's for a takeover, and I'm going to struggle with this for a second just so I can show you this, because this is a prime example of a day in the life.
I think there's a button right on the side,
Yeah.
right on the side of the remote.
Here?
Yeah, the other side.
Which one? Oh,
That doesn't have the play button.
play? But I need to get it on the screen, right? I know there's a
There
way.
you go.
There's my mouse, right? I normally don't have this much difficulty. And in my other life, I have people do this. All right, I may have to come back to this. I apologize. I'm going to work my way through the slides because I don't want to waste time playing with the slides. The next tool is LinkedIn. It is a fantastic business-to-business tool. It helps you to market and build relationships in B2B arenas. It is also undergoing a lot of changes since it was purchased. And I'm going to talk about a few features. When you are attempting to communicate with a prospect, make sure you use an ampersand in that prospect's name. They will get a notification even if they are not part of your network. And it's a great way to communicate and let them know that you like something that they said or sharing some information with them. This is one of my pet peeves, and this is a personal one, and it involves invitations on LinkedIn. One of the things that I find extremely annoying is when people send me an invite and they don't take a moment to write me a personal message. Yes, I know you, it's great, but there is a way to send a message to someone when you send an invite to them, even in the premium or the non-premium form of LinkedIn. And I find that it helps to personify that request, and it encourages people to connect with you, and it creates an interest. So I suggest that you take the time to personalize your invite, and it's usually found on a mobile version. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to show you this because it is an invaluable feature. If you look on your mobile version and you want to go to connections, or if you're searching for someone, and of course I can't find it on the mobile version, but you can personalize. I'm going to come back to that. I'm coming back to everything. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. But you can do it take the time to personalize the invite. It sends a really nice message to the people that you're trying to connect with. Ask for a connection. If there's someone that you want to meet and that you may have met elsewhere and you weren't able to connect with them, ask for the connection. And this is especially where you want to make a personal connection, and you want to make sure you personalize that invitation. You want to explain to them why they should accept your connection. Take the time to write them, to customize the invitation. Post helpful status updates, which is something that I use, and it helps to draw attention to people that you're trying to connect with. Customize your page, please. Don't leave the static background that LinkedIn has with the blue thing going across. Take the time to spend some time on your page when people come. I was in Nashville last week. I was working, but I was also attending a marketing conference, and I was speaking to someone, and I got a notification on my phone that that person had taken the time to go to look at my LinkedIn page, maybe to verify some of the things that I said, or maybe to learn some of the things about me that I hadn't conveyed to them. But LinkedIn, take the time to complete your profile as completely as possible. They've done away with the levels like the ultra and the okay, but take the time, because if you take the time now, when people go to see their page, they'll know, wow, this person wants me to know who they are, and it's a perfect opportunity. And it's also going to be great because now that LinkedIn has been purchased, one of their future goals is to make LinkedIn the identifier for all of your social media tools and across the net, all platforms. So they intend to make LinkedIn your unifying profile. So when you have that profile, take the time to create it now so that later on you're not behind the curve. It's going to be the way that people identify you. So take the time to let them know exactly who you are. So the ideal LinkedIn user are people like us. Again, this is one of the few places where men dominate. Still in 2016, they are 31% of 29% of all users, but they are 31%. As you can see, they're supposed to be between the ages of 18 and 29. However, I find that demographic to be a little bit skewed. I won't tell Pew that I don't agree with them, but for the most part, I find it's an older demographic. They all have 50% of the people who are in LinkedIn or more are college graduates. The salaries are different. When we looked at Instagram and we looked at the profile, if you're looking for people who earn more than $75,000 a year, LinkedIn is going to be the place that you should go to, because 45% of those men who are the leaders are making $75,000 or more. You know what it also tells you? That the disparity in women's salaries is still evident, but I'm gonna back away from that topic. They predominantly live in suburban communities, and they are employed. Although LinkedIn is a great tool to use if you are attempting to look for a job, and they are beefing up. And I want to take a moment to stop and talk about some of the changes on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to share articles and publications for individual communications or things that you've written. It's a great way to share content. They have made it much easier for you to share your articles. At one point it was hidden. Now it's very easy to share. They also are updating their company page, and I know you're going company page. Yes, LinkedIn has a company page. There are a few criteria that you're going to have to meet in order to use it. You can't use a Gmail, Yahoo, you can't use a public email service, but if you have a business domain for your email, you can create one. That's one of the criteria. You can create a company page, and it allows you to profile not only you as an individual, but your company, and help to create your brand. So one of the other changes, I'm trying to think because there are so many, and I believe it's Microsoft that bought, no, who makes Microsoft? Yeah, Microsoft Word. Microsoft purchased LinkedIn last year, and it has been making steady changes, and that's one of the reasons that LinkedIn is going to become an across-the-board identifier for all of your online interactions. It's also going to become a better tool. Their whole goal is to make it a place where you go to conduct your business. And now that Microsoft is involved in the mix, I think it's going to happen because they're making changes that are leading in that direction. Snapchat. Okay, don't everybody frown at one time. This is the millennial platform, and it's important because millennials are big spenders. They spend on average like $220 a transaction. They have also come in the workplace and they have money. And they're going to be the next group that we need to focus on to make sure that our businesses survive. The average Snapchat user is between the ages of 18 and 24 years old. However, that range has already started to age in the last 6 months, and it is now 34 years old. So it is it's a tool that's rapidly aging. Anytime a tool starts to age, it becomes a great method for business users and a method of communication for business users, because it means that it's going more into the mainstream. Parents are using the social media tool, which means their kids are probably going to start leaving. One of the things that I think has precluded people business owners from using Snapchat is because it is a temporary platform. However, they have modified that, and they too have a stories platform similar to the one that is on Instagram and is also on Facebook. So it will last for 24 hours and allow you to convey a message. So don't just assume that Snapchat is not for you, because it's not. It is also a great place to connect with women and girls, because they are the predominant, about 70% of women and girls use Snapchat. There was also a study that talked about Snapchat users, and there was a surprise group, and it was mothers, stay-at-home mothers who had small children, because they were using Snapchat to communicate with their own personal networks. And they were a surprise group, and they were one of the first identified older groups. The ideal Snapchat user is now from 18 to 34. There are 100 million daily snaps. That just lets you know that it is definitely a place that if you haven't started using, you should consider using. There are over 1 million new snaps every day, and that's on a global basis, but in the US, that number is about 250,000, primarily because the United States is about the sixth biggest user of Snapchat. The biggest user, interesting, is Ireland. 71% of its users are under 34 years old. That means the millennials, of which my son is a group. They have disposable income because they generally live at home longer than any of the other generations. They are also the largest living generation in our society, in the US society right now. The baby boomers, everyone else, we are starting to die off. They're the biggest group and they have disposable income, although it's a little difficult to communicate with them because they don't have the same buying patterns and the same buying practices that we had and the groups generations before them have. Even the ones, Gen Y behind them is a little bit different. They have a few more traditional, but millennials are going to be the group that we need to know how to communicate with because they're going to be the ones spending their dollars. So I decided to focus on some millennial marketing tips because there are such a significant group and will continue to be. So they are aged between 20 and 36, and that number fluctuates on, excuse me, the upper range number fluctuates based on which publication you look at, but generally they were born in 1984 or 1982 and onward. In 2015, they were 18 to 34, and that's important because in the past 2 years, they've entered the workplace. They are changing the workplace and they are changing how they spend. As I said, they're the largest living generation, and it's going to be a demographic that is going to continue to grow based upon the influx of immigrants. Generally, the immigrants who arrive in the US are in the millennial group. They live at home. They do not want to leave. I don't know what that phenomena is, but they live at home longer. And their average, because we allow them to, right? And the average spend per transaction is $220 per transaction. A lot of it is on electronics, but they do buy traditional items. The problem with them is they do not believe in brand loyalty. They have causes, and there is a specific way to communicate with them. So on this chart here, this interactive gift chart, you'll see some of the ways that you can use to market to millennials. Think beyond traditional advertising. They are the connected generation. They are the ones who are always on electronic devices like your social media, your phones, and sometimes tablets, but generally they grew up with electronics, and that's the way they communicate. That's the way they communicate with each other in a room. Be where they are. Use the platforms that speak to them. Snapchat would be one. They still use Instagram a lot. Twitter, yes, but Twitter's in a state of flux because they've been trying to get purchased by someone, and so the platform is still, it's iffy because we don't know what the trend is going to be and where they're going, but it is still a great platform to use because you do have the ability to reach a lot of people. Provide the millennials with experience, so those day-in-the-life things that I was talking about, and help them engage with you, help them know who you are. Make sure that when you do engage with them, that it's a real communication and it is authentic. In one of the last sessions, there was a person here who's an actress, and she was talking, well, the guest that came with her, and he was like, well, what would you say about using a model for your advertising or your marketing? And I said, it depends on what product you're selling. If you're selling a personal service, use yourself, practice, authenticity. That's what we all want to see. Millennials more so, but be authentic. If it's a good that you can place that person in and that person identifies or looks like that individual, use that one. But the biggest takeaway is be authentic. Tell them your real story and not be afraid to tell that story. We appreciate it. Video is the critical medium. It is taking over photos. Sometimes it's difficult to incorporate video in your marketing plan, but there are creative ways to do that, and it is more engaging and it gives you a greater return on investment. Don't forget discounts when you talk to millennials. Offer them a discount. I don't know why they have money, but offer them a discount. And speak to their values. They are people who are interested in causes. They are interested, they have fewer issues with across the line interacting with individuals from other cultures. They embrace it because they have used electronic devices and they have had access to people outside their borders almost all their lives. So they are one of the groups that you can communicate to across any platform, and they're more amenable to it, but make sure that you're speaking to them with authenticity. The next platform is going to be Twitter, and I'm not going to really focus much time on Twitter because it is still sort of in a state of flux. Whatever you can do on Instagram, you can generally do on Twitter. The impending sale leaves the state of Twitter in flux. It has a cross appeal for all age groups and demographics, similar to Facebook and some of the demographics for Facebook. Some of the best uses for Twitter is audience interaction. It's a great way to communicate with people, to forward their messages and have them forward yours. It's also a great platform for content delivery because you get the bit.ly link, that is a shortened link, and it will help them share your materials. And it's great for brand storytelling because it's a pictorial platform and you can combine a short amount of text, although they've increased the number of characters, it's a little bit more than 144 now. It's a great way to tell a story and give an image with a short line of text. I have Google here because it is important to have people be able to find you, and Google is the way to do that. So it's important for ranking purposes, it's important for search engine optimization, and it's important for content. Content is an essential part of your marketing plan because Google changed its algorithm on March 8th of this year to an unconfirmed version called Fred. Somebody called it Fred and it kind of stuck. And the SEO and the links help because it determines how high you are ranked and how easy people are able to find you on the first page. And using that algorithm, they're searching for links. Links would be any mentions of you on LinkedIn, any mentions of you on Facebook, on your business page, any published articles. For example, I have a blog, so any links that are referenced on my blog also help with my SEO. All of the articles that I published on LinkedIn, those help with my SEO. I write short articles for the Lehigh Valley business. Those are links that refer back to me and help with my SEO. So the more content, Google is giving more weight to the content that you publish rather than some of the other factors that they used to do. That focuses on link quality. There was also another SEO algorithm change in February, but the one that is predominant is the one that just occurred a few weeks ago. And again, I can't emphasize the importance of links because that is how Google bases their search results and their returns. And the way to think about links when you're doing content marketing is to view them as little streets in your city. So the more streets that lead to your house, the easier it is for people to find you. The last component in your marketing plan is going to be your email marketing. And I can't emphasize enough how important email marketing is and how essential it is to get people to give you emails. Email, although a lot of people think it is dead, it is still provides the greatest return on investment of all the marketing tools, including social media. People are 6 times more likely to interact and click on your link in email. Email subscribers are 3 times more likely to share your content via social media. 72% of consumers prefer receiving promotional content, and this has been verified as long as they get it in an email. Email marketing return on investment is 3,800%, and that is not a typo, in that it has been demonstrated, and I'm gonna go into this a little bit in more detail in a minute. And it ties all of your marketing efforts together. So I was at a marketing conference last week, and we did focus a lot on email marketing. And I'm going to ask you to think about your email inbox and how many companies you have voluntarily given your email to when they ask you. It's almost an automatic. The brands that you interact with ask for your email address because they know marketing to you in your inbox is one of the most effective ways to market. And if they're using it, why shouldn't you be using it, even if you use it on a smaller scale? It's a fantastic way to speak to people who have agreed to communicate with you. Once you surrender your email address, you expect people to send you an email, right? We give our email addresses at the register automatically. They don't have to wrestle with us. They don't have to fight us. We give an email address, and emails begin to come, and we read them. So this is a great way to communicate with people, and I can't tell you how I stress this to small and medium-sized businesses, only because it is one of the opportunities that we refuse to take, and we refuse to collect emails, and we miss opportunities to talk to people. We miss opportunities to tell them about our specials. We miss opportunities to send them newsletters and let them know what's going on with us. These are the people that want to hear from us, and if you don't take advantage of them, you are missing out. So for example, what I did was to calculate an email return on investment, and it is one of the easiest ways to connect. You can even do this on their websites that will help you calculate your return on investment. So for this particular email, we're doing an annual calculation. We sent 10,000 emails. I don't send 10,000 emails. But you see that the total profit that you were able to realize was $900, and the total revenue that you got was $2,400. And this is just based on one component of your marketing plan. There are regulations that govern the way you send emails and communications to your subscribers. You can't promote, and it's governed by the Federal Trade Commission, and it's called the CAN-SPAN Act. It's a little bit older, and there's a new element that has been added that the FTC issued a warning. I'm going to get to that in a minute. And it involves you marketing to people, but it applies to anyone who is promoting or advertising a commercial product or service through electronic communication. Basically, if you send people emails, be careful how you send them. Make sure that you have obtained their permission to communicate with them. Sometimes giving just an email address is not enough. Sometimes you want to confirm in the introductory email that welcomes them, hey, you agreed to receive this email, and the email has to make sure, you have to make sure, and most email marketing programs do, provide you a way for subscribers to unsubscribe. You always have an opt-out at the bottom of the email, generally it's at the bottom, and any time that you violate CAN-SPAM, you can be fined by the Federal Trade Commission up to $16,000 per email. Generally, small and medium-sized businesses are pretty excluded, but there are also some other non-regulated ways that affect your email ability. If email providers determine that you are spamming people or sending bad emails, they will limit your ability to communicate, and it's done automatically. You will also run into people unsubscribing from your newsletters, but the biggest problem is having the email provider deem you abusive. and then they will stop delivering your emails to a lot of people. So be careful about how you design your emails and the way you communicate. And I don't say that to scare you, but you want to make sure that you use the tool and you use it effectively. And there is also something that the FTC just issued last week, and it involves influencer marketing. And influencer marketing is essentially having celebrities, either local celebrities or celebrities as we see them on TMZ or other places, endorse your products. You have to be careful about the messages that they send, because the FTC has issued warnings to celebrities telling them that they have to either make sure that they tell people that they are using the products and they are endorsing it for monetary purposes, or that they have actually used it and are a user of the product, and they are cutting down on influencer marketing and how the message that it sends. So this is an example of an email that I sent recently. Actually, it was November. And it's my invitation to my lunch and learn. And there are some components that you want to make sure that you include. You can see, all right, and I talked about call to action, right? And so you can't really see mine. But usually yes, it is free to attendees and blah, blah, blah. You want to make sure that all of the information that your subscribers need is usually above the fold, and that's going to be the portion of the email when they click on it, all the information before they open the actual email. Make sure that you try to make your subject lines engaging and that it is of value to the people that subscribe to your newsletter, because more than likely that is going to increase the open rate and the engagement rate. Open rate is great, engagement is what you want, because it's great to have someone open, but if they're not going to engage with the email, you're not going to get the results that you want. So for example, you can see that most of the people who open this particular email opened it on a mobile device. So make sure, like your website, make sure that your emails are mobile friendly. And most email applications right now are all mobile friendly, because they know it's a minimum. I'm not going to do that. So, mobile dominates. We all look at our phones, and I'm not offended because I do it too, but we all looked at our phones at least once today, because we are always connected, and that is the world that we live in. 80% of internet users own a smartphone, and certain demographics use smartphones and use smartphones exclusively as access to the internet. 48% of consumers start their mobile research with a search engine, and we all know that showrooming, going into a store, looking at items and looking to see what we're going to buy, we research them on Amazon, and we research them on everywhere. We online. We have had the ability to look at the item, and now we are going to do our research about the product generally in that store on our mobile device. Google, who is an authority on all things mobile, says 61% of users are unlikely to return to a mobile site they had trouble accessing, and 40% visit a competitor's site instead. And that goes back to the website portion that I discussed earlier. Make sure that people have a great experience. And Google provides a site, and if you're interested, I'll research the link and send it to you. But they will analyze your website and tell you some of the areas that are good, what works, what doesn't work, and what you should improve. 88% of consumers who search for a type of local business on a mobile device call or go to that business within 24 hours. So everyone who is searching for you will be able to find you, and more than likely, once they do that research, they will come to your establishment. That snippet for the mobile dominates will lead us to our next seminar, which will be held on March 24th, which I confirmed with Kathy today. That segment is going to be on mobile and its importance in your marketing plan, and I'm going to devote the entire hour to mobile because its presence is so great right now that we need to understand more about mobile. Thank you for attending the seminar. Hopefully you have a question or two because we still have a little bit of time. We have about 11 minutes left until the end. If you don't, that's fine. My website is millenniamediallc.com. My blog is devoted to marketing issues and also business issues. One of the I can't even remember what the most recent article is, but I don't just discuss marketing. There was a particular article about whether to use email or the phone. So I focus on other issues, and I am open to suggestions and topics. So if you want me to write about something or you want to know something, just send me an email and I will definitely talk about it. These are the ways to reach me on social media. I want to thank you to all my partners. We have Wigman's, Willow Tree Grove, Kathy and Liz, GZTV, a videographer, Mike Robinson, the photographer, and Select Sales, who has provided the items that are in your goodie bags. So I want to thank everyone who helped to participate, and thank you very much. I forgot to instruct you to put your business card in the basket because we have a raffle for a bottle of red wine and a bottle of white wine. Yes, and I'll bring the basket over. And the goodie bag, you said yes, right? Yes, I did. Yes, you can.
Let me go get one.
And I also have your goodie bag, so please